Hello, everybody. Welcome on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. I'm John Arvosis here in Chicago, not Washington, D.C., because I'm visiting Chicago for the month. Let me turn on the TikTok, folks, and then we will all hang for a few minutes. All right, let's see what's going on TikTok. Calling all TikTokers. I got TikTok up there and you guys down there. One sec. Let's see who's first. I'd like to see who's first. Pale Rose, you're first on TikTok. Woo, woo, woo. Hey, everybody. As always, do your little introductions where you all introduce where you're from or if you feel like it. But I think it's kind of fun to see what cities and countries and everything else people are coming in from. Being a Saturday, it might be a little slower, at least Saturday here. I'm guessing it's Sunday in New Zealand and Tokyo, maybe. Always confuses me. Hello, Switzerland. Arizona. Hello to you. Decent amount of news considering we're doing this maybe 16 hours after we did the other one last night, but there's a lot of good news today. Some breaking news, actually, which I'm sure is going to be upsetful to Harvey Kittle because Harvey likes to break the breaking news to me. But I checked my Twitter right before we came on, so I've got two breaking stories we'll talk about. But hello, everybody. England, Nova Scotia, nice. We just take a few minutes, usually till 5 after we go, just for folks to introduce themselves, say where you're from. And that way it gives time for Quebec. Salut, Quebec. It gives time for people to, filter on in. Yep. And I don't mind that you give me my drag on TikTok while I'm waiting. The crown. I like how it's a crown, but it's also like rouge. It's kind of a funny mix. Scotland. Nice. Oh, and Sasha. I've got Sasha next to me, but I think it's good. Well, she's licking her paws. She's cleaning her paws. I don't want to pick her up right now, my dog. I'll do it later. Tristan de Cunha. I'm not familiar with where that is. Interesting. I don't know. Very interesting. UK. Lots of sunflowers already. Yes, Odessa was attacked last night. We're going to talk about that. More generals were killed. We're going to talk about that. And visit of U.S. officials to Ukraine announced moments ago. We're going to talk about that. But another 2 minutes for folks to filter in. It's slower today. It always is, which is okay. I don't mind. Weekends are always a bit slower. It's funny. I always think weekends are going to be better because people, thank you for the lights already, smiling tree on TikTok. But the weekends, I always feel like they're going to be better for people to come on because we aren't all working. But big surprise, people have lives. So you actually go out and do things on the weekend rather than sitting here and worrying about war. So I can forgive that. So we'll go another minute and a half of introductions. But as I said, it's much slower, but that's okay. He's okay. Oh, love the party favors on TikTok. Thank you. What else we got on here? Have our Ukrainians been checking in on YouTube and TikTok? I didn't see. They don't have to be here every day, of course. It's just kind of nice to see you guys. There's a Zelensky interview. I saw Zelensky doing a press conference. I don't know if he's done, but I saw he did a press conference. So what else we got? San Francisco. What else we got? Praising Sweden. That's good. We're about to jump in, but it's okay. Hey Rachel, you're allowed to join us on YouTube. Different crowd than TikTok. Well, TikTok's nice because TikTok is usually quite busy. We're going to start in a minute, guys, just so you know. If you're just joining us, I'm John Arvosis here in DC. You're not here in DC. I'm looking at the fireworks and everything going off on TikTok, and I'm forgetting where I am. Thank you for all those in a row, the origami and the fireworks and the glasses. I am actually in Chicago for the month, and then I will be back to DC, Washington, D.C., where I normally live in the middle of May. Thank you for the galaxy. But anybody thinking of robbing my home, my friend Damien is guarding it like a vicious dog, so don't even think of causing trouble. Oh, what do you want? Oh, my dog is being very needy today, so we'll see. I'm sure she's going to make an appearance while we're doing this. All right, another half minute. We'll jump in, guys. I'm using my big mug today. Forgive me for not using my my Ukraine mug, but it doesn't have enough water. And when I'm talking, I get so parched. I like to have like a good 2 cups of water in here. There's. Oh, you know what? You got up so I can have you say hi. Oh, and this is Miss Sasha, everybody. Oh, thank you. She's sniffing my ear like she doesn't know who I am after 12 years. Yeah? You want to say hi to everybody real quick? Good girl. Good girl. Not fighting me as much today. Usually she hates being picked up. There you go. Okay. There you go. She likes to sit on the chair next to me when I work. And then get her BALL and then beg me and make lots of noise. All right, guys, we are starting. It's 5 after. Thank you for joining us. Actually, TikTok, we got up to a respectable number. Thank you for joining us, guys. And on YouTube as well. I'm John Arvosis, like I said, in Chicago. We're going to do an update today, and then I'll do your questions. And then afterwards, I'm going to start making Greek dinner for Easter tomorrow. My family's Eastern Orthodox, so our Easter is tomorrow. If you know anybody who's Eastern European, Greek, Russian even, that plays into a story today I'm going to talk about. Thanks for the little doggy. As always, if you would submit your questions, you can do it in advance if you want. Or like Java Violet, you can do it right now while I haven't even gotten started yet. Thank you for that. If you want to submit questions on TikTok, there's a Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. You'll kind of see it to the bottom, to the right a little bit. Submit them there, because that way I can go through them later and they're all together. That way I don't have to like scroll through the entire conversation. On YouTube, you know how to do it. Just submit a question at the bottom. As always on YouTube, if you are so generous as to buy a super chat question as a way of supporting my work, because I'm doing this full time now, I will get to your question first, just as a thank you. But of course, you don't have to pay for questions. You can submit them in the comment box, submit them here. The only caveat is usually we get a good 100 to 200 questions. So there's no way I get to all of them. So that's one nice way. And on TikTok, thank you so much for all the cute little, I've got to find out what you call those things. All the fun little, my sorting hat and my little glasses. I don't know what you call them, but thank you for those, because when you do that, you're also supporting my work, and I really appreciate it. I don't know if folks realize that it actually works as a donation to support the creators, and we very much appreciate it. So I try to call out TikTok when you guys do that. I was ready to say Tic Tac, the candy. Thank you for the origami when you guys do that. Final little point. Oh, like and follow, of course. Please like the videos, like on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube and TikTok. That's always helpful. And the final thing I was going to say is we do have our fundraiser up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but we've had a fundraiser going for several days. We might be up to $3,000, maybe a little more that we've raised. We want to raise $10,000 to buy 2 used cars in Ukraine that Ukrainians, I'm helping them raise the money, but they're the ones doing it, that 2 used cars. They're going to fill them with groceries, drive them across country because groceries are scarce in the town they're going to, drive them across country, deliver them to the town of Kharkiv, which is the second largest town, 1.5 million people. Lots of problems now because the Russians are bombing the bejesus. They have been since the beginning of the war, and now they're going crazy, bombing the town, hitting residential areas. A lot of people are hiding in the subways as bomb shelters. Others, like seniors, are still stuck in their homes. So we're giving money and giving food now to these delivery services that make the food. They've even had restaurants chipping in for free to make the food, but they need the food. So we've been giving them money to buy food, and now food itself, they will make food, deliver them to people. I put up some videos already on TikTok showing them delivering food in the subways. It's very cool. And when the delivery is done, we're then going to at least lend and maybe even give, we'll see, but the cars to the food groups for the rest of the war, so they can use the cars that you guys have bought, the used cars, to deliver groceries continually, meals to people around the city. So thank you for that. You can find the link on TikTok in my profile. Click the Beacons link, beacons.ai. It'll take you to the next page. I prefer just to give the money via Vlad's PayPal. It's easier, my friend in Ukraine. Or you can use my link, which you don't have to have PayPal. You can just use your credit card for the second link. And I'm sure Be Kind has already put the fundraiser up there. Let me dig in. So the breaking news is today that the U.S. Secretary of Defense is going to be going with the U.S. Secretary of State to Kyiv tomorrow to meet with Zelensky. Very cool. We've been waiting on this for about a week or so. You know, the U.S. was sort of publicly debating this, which I don't think things like this should be public. It reminds me of a discussion. Any of you who've been on the show before with me, thank you for the Galaxy on TikTok. We were talking about why everybody keeps saying publicly, and the Sunflower keeps saying publicly how many weapons they're sending and what weapons, and at some point, is it counterproductive? And I think one of the areas that is counterproductive is when we keep having these policy discussions publicly, such as, should we send the planes? Shouldn't we send the planes, right? Should Poland send them? Should Poland not send them? It makes us look kind of weak, and I think it has not been good for the Biden administration to be debating for a week and a half publicly if they were or weren't going to send somebody, whether it be Biden. Anyway, they've decided it's very high level with our Secretary of Defense and our Secretary of State. That's great. They're meeting with Zelensky tomorrow, Easter Sunday, but, you know, you're at war, so what do you do? Thank you. I do like those. Because saying on the smiling, I think it was on TikTok. I've only seen those recently, and I really like those. Thank you. They're very pretty. The little balloons going up. So very important, I think. And as I've said before, one thing that I think is really important when you get these face-to-face meetings, it's not just for cameras. You're establishing a relationship between the leaders. The Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State are meeting their counterparts in person, who they maybe have not met before. They're establishing a friendship, so to speak. I mean, if they hit it off personally, certainly those two leaders with the president, with Zelensky, it's important for them to have a rapport, just like Zelensky hopefully is building up a rapport with Biden now. So these visits can be thank you for the origami, can be very important for establishing that relationship because, even in politics, I mean, obviously you make decisions, my hair is exploding, even though you make decisions based on what's best for your country, it helps to be friendly with the other government. You're going to do more for another government that you're friendly with. So anyway, very important. The other kind of breaking-ish news, I'm going to stop with my hair after this. Breaking-ish news is that the Ukrainians are reporting that they've killed 2 more Russian generals. This would bring the total to 10. It was, hold on, I'm going to pull, I have it in my notes. They claimed that they hit a command and control post, basically meaning a location where the generals and the senior military guys are commanding and controlling what's going on all around them. And, this unit attacking here, right? This kind of stuff where they're controlling everything. Well, they say they've hit a command and control building that housed at least 50 senior Russian officers, 2 generals. Now, this is the Ukrainians, but the Ukrainians so far, when they've said this, they've been telling the truth, right? Even on that strike against the now submarine Moskva, when they said they hit it, and the Russians were like, they hit it. So all the other generals they claimed they killed, we ultimately found out were killed. So 2 more generals appear to have died in the raid. A third general's in critical condition. And some source they talked to said, and among the other 50 senior Russian officials, a lot of them are probably very unhappy. So really good news for the Ukrainians. Also, it shows once again that they're getting awfully good intelligence, that they knew that everybody was meeting in this place. Well, no, it's not just by, thank you for the glasses. It's not just by chance because they knew who was there, right? If they hit it by chance, all they'd know is we hit a military building. They wouldn't know we hit a military building that had 3 generals, 2 were dead, 1 was injured, 50 senior officials, right? That's intelligence. And they're getting this, my guess is they're getting this intelligence. Thank you, TikTok. They're getting this intelligence from, again, their poor communications, how they keep talking on whether it's radio or whatever they're using, that the Ukrainians, probably the Brits, the Germans, and even the Americans, thanks, Pamela, for that, are able to listen in and find out. Very good news again for the Ukrainians. Go back to where I was. Overall, I've been trying to sort of do overall updates as well each day, just kind of where the war is. And it's interesting because even though there's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm going to talk about it, there was a missile attack on Odessa, update on the U.S. arms shipments, Mariupol, stuff like the oligarchs. Generally speaking, it's not any better for the Russians than where it was a couple days ago, right? They launched their the big war has started. I think they even launched it last weekend, didn't they? It might have even been as early as Saturday or Sunday, where it was like, the big battle has begun. Well, they haven't really done much. They've taken over a couple little towns and villages. The Ukrainians took some of them back. They haven't really advanced much. I did a longer video on TikTok, not longer, but 3-minute long video on TikTok about this. But what they're saying is, and again, I just keep reading as many of the experts as I can, and they're being careful. They're not necessarily saying Ukraine's going to win, but a lot of the experts are saying the Russians aren't in any better shape than they were when they got their butts kicked in Kyiv, the capital in the north. That now you've got a situation where in the east, right, they've started this war again. They didn't take nearly enough time. Well, let me start first and say who's there. So you got the forces in the east. They include the forces that were in Kyiv in the north that were kicked out by the Ukrainians, and then they circled around and joined them. So that's one group, the forces that were in the north. A second group is many of the forces that were in the south at Mariupol. Now, they're still keeping 12,000 or so troops at Mariupol, supposedly, that's what we hear, but they're bringing many more up north to fight. So that's a second group. Then you've got the folks that came in through the east that are coming in from Russia. That's a third group. I'm not even sure who the fourth group is, but there is a fourth group as well. And they're trying to integrate. I'm sorry. The fourth group would be new troops from the rest of Russia, like all these new troops they're bringing in. So you got fresh troops from the rest of Russia that aren't necessarily really good. A lot of them are draftees, right? That they're conscripts that don't want to be there. They've heard about how bad it is, and they're not well trained and all of this, right? So you got that group. You've got the Kyiv groups who have been moved over, the ones kicked out, who got their butts kicked, who are exhausted. They didn't let them rest. So these guys are exhausted and they're fighting again. Going to be horrible. You've got the troops coming in, the troops coming in from the east who have already kind of been there. They're getting tired as well. And the troops from the south, from Mariupol, who are absolutely positively exhausted beyond belief from what I'm reading, because they've been fighting for 2 months against the Ukrainians there. So you've not only got half these forces or half of the groups are exhausted, they also don't play well together. Apparently, again, from what the experts are saying and the military experts, you don't just throw 4 different groups of troops together and say, work together now, boys. You actually have to, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't think I've seen that before. Thank you. The little musical notes. And thank you for that smiling, of course. You don't just throw them together and say, work together now, boys. It doesn't work that way. It takes months, apparently, to sort of get the coordination and get them working together. It's bad. Bad for them, good for Ukraine. The other thing was, that was it for all of that. The general isn't going to change anything. They said, they're getting this new general who's the butcher of Syria. Big deal. The analysts are saying, good luck, because he's dealing with the same lousy army and he's dealing with the same lousy logistics. Like, these guys still don't know how to provide ongoing munitions, ongoing gas, diesel fuel, ongoing food and water to their troops. They're still just as bad at it. So it's not like they're going to be any better when they attack from the east. And the final point was, after you take all of that into account, the Ukrainians are now getting finally the weapons that they want and need. They're getting tons of artillery, which basically are what the Russians are using now, right? They're kind of sort of a, I think of it, what was it? Is it a Triceratops that's got like the armored plates and then the gun? So kind of like the armored plates and the gun sticking out. That's artillery, right? Can shoot 20, 30 miles, whatever. The Russians have been hitting Ukrainians with that. The Ukrainians are now getting a lot of it themselves from the West. So now Ukraine has got a lot of artillery, including some of their own, that they're now going to start firing back at the Russians. Well, not only that, but some of the weapons they're getting from the US, and I'll go through the list. Yeah, I'll go through the list at the end, but some of the weapons are these radar that are like anti-artillery radar, where basically the radar is looking. Let's pretend I'm the Russians, okay? You got the radar looking at me, and my Vaseline chapstick is firing a missile off. Well, your radar is looking at me. I fire the missile, and your radar goes, "Whoa! What was that? There's an artillery launcher here," and literally. Your missile's taking off. I'm not the expert on this, but more or less, the artillery shell's taking off, and the bad guys are already looking, going, "Holy cow!" Or the good guys in this case, there's an artillery, howitzer there. Let's bomb it. And they relay the information to their artillery system. Boom! It bombs it. So there's not enough time for the Russian artillery to move out of the way before it gets bombed. So these are really important new weapons that are getting there. And I was closing by saying that when already the Russians are in real trouble in the east, because they've got these troops that are tired, these troops that don't know how to work together, they're bad logistics, and the Ukrainians are just getting up to speed with the really scary weapons they need, like artillery, like these kamikaze drones, these drones that just crash and explode everything, and helicopters. So they're really, and maybe some tanks now too, right? We heard about tanks from, I want to say, was it Slovenia, maybe? Slovakia or Slovenia? I'm forgetting. Slovakia, probably, I'd think. And maybe some tanks from Poland or Czech Republic, but and maybe some tanks from Poland. These with a tie to the UK, they're considering. It's a little weird, but nonetheless, looks like we're getting tanks involved too. That's a long way of saying, I'm kind of optimistic here. Again, we're dealing with Russia. They could still be evil. They could still flatten cities, but they're not doing that well. Odessa, speaking of which, Odessa, the Russians fired. So Odessa is huge Ukrainian city, southwestern Ukraine, on the water there in the south. Big, beautiful, huge touristy city. Thank you for that smiling. And the Russians shot 6 cruise missiles at it last night. 2 were knocked down. 4 made it through. Killed at least 6 civilians, including a 3-month-old baby. Nasty. What's going on is a little weird, because it doesn't really make sense for the Russians to be doing this, because they've got to, what the experts again are saying is they've got to focus on the east. They've got to stop this. Well, let's go to the east and let's attack Kharkiv and let's worry about Mariupol and let's try to expand our southern, on the water. Let's try to expand from where are they, Kherson to Melitopol. Is it Melitopol? I think it's Melitopol. I'm forgetting now. But let's try. Forgetting the town. I think it's Melitopol. The next town. Oh no, or is it Mikhail something is what I'm thinking of. In any case, let's try to expand down there. And they've got all these different goals and all these different areas, rather than putting all their troops together and saying, if we're trying to win the East, why don't we try to win the East? And they're not doing it. So now, they're doing crazy stuff like attacking Odessa. Apparently, Odessa hadn't been hit with missiles since the beginning of April. So 3 weeks ago was the last time they hit Odessa. So it's a bit, they're trying to cause terror. They're trying to freak out the civilians in Odessa. And in a way, don't get me wrong here, but in a way it's good because once again, it's the Russians kind of doing this, what's the word with, the shiny new thing, like the squirrel or the shiny new thing, like, oh, look, Odessa. Oh, look, Kherson. Oh, look, Kharkiv. Oh, look, let's go in the East. And they've got too many things they're going after, and it makes them really bad at, what is it, jack of all trades, master of none, as we say in English. So it's actually good news, so to speak, that they're going nuts in this. The World Health Organization, this is kind of interesting because I mentioned this last night in our live. I was mentioning the World Health Organization or UN, United Nations Organization, and what they said a month ago about that the Russians had hit 64 hospitals or other health facilities in the first month of the war. Well, now in the second month of the war, they've hit a total in the first 2 months now, because we're now 2 months in. The Russians hit a total of 162 attacks on healthcare facilities in Ukraine. So they went up from 64 to 162. 64 doubled would have been 128. 128, 62, you're talking another 38, 30, whatever, 35 more, 34 more, 36. They like to hit military facilities. They like to hit civilians. They're doing it on purpose. And we've been saying it. We've got the numbers. Hopefully they can be held accountable. Oh, actually, sorry. I forgot I had the question at the very beginning before I even started. Let me jump to your question, Java Violet, and then I'll jump back to the news. What do you think about Russia announcing that they will send a nuclear bomb to the U.S. in the fall? I didn't see that. I'm laughing. I didn't see that. Because you know what? Then the U.S. is going to send a couple thousand from our submarines at Christmas. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I got to tell you, this is why I said at the beginning, remember, if you guys are new, you don't remember. John Irvos is here, by the way, in Chicago for the month. But I've been saying from the beginning that every time the Russians make a threat, I'm like, give me a break. And I got upset at Biden for being worried about World War III and all of this because, we don't know what Putin will do. Putin's playing games with us. He's intentionally trying to act crazy. This is what the Russians do. They do all this, nuclear war. They've been doing this. I've been studying them since they were Soviets. I've been looking at this stuff seriously since at least the 1980s, meaning as an adult. And this is what they do. Who haven't they threatened to nuke now in the last month? I feel like if you haven't been threatened to nuke, you've sort of been, left off the invite list of the greatest party. Like, I want them to threaten to nuke me. It's just BS. It reminds me of, I think there's an old kind of an expression, but comment in English, and I'm sure you guys say it around the world too. Sort of the whole thing of the people who have power don't have to threaten you and say, look how powerful I am. Right? It's only the people who are weak who go, do you know who I am? I can hurt you. The people who have power kind of sit there and look at you, and they've got power. Hello, what are you doing? Oh, do you want to be covered up? Okay. My dog is beneath me on the little bed, and she's going, and she's trained me over the years that means I've got a blanket here, but I haven't been covered up. So I had to go down and cover her up. The dog's wild. In any case, he's been threatening so many things that it literally reminds me of just that. It's the boy who cried wolf, in a sense. He's out of his mind, especially because with the nuclear stuff, it's going to scare people. With the nuclear stuff, we and the Brits have got so many nuclear weapons on submarines, and the Russians can't hit them. You can't hit a nuclear submarine. So no matter how much they would attack the American mainland, they could wipe out the entire United States. And guess what would happen next? Our nuclear submarines that would still be around would wipe out all of Russia. Therefore, neither side is going to attack because we know we could get each other. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I didn't hear it, but I laughed when you told me because it's so sophomoric and so, what does it say about Russia that they even have to make threats like that? Like, who doesn't know Russia's a nuclear power? It's like literally they're in the back of the room. It's like North Korea. Like, whenever anything happens, North Korea, like they did last week, North Korea has to stand up and go, oh, I'm crazy too. I'm crazy too. It's the same thing. It's like this sort of pathetic child reaction. Anyway, I'll stop giving my disdain of Russia, but it really is gross. 6 Russian oligarchs. So the total, we are now at 6 Russian oligarchs who are the basically corrupt businessmen in league with Putin, where Putin may have used to funnel his money and stuff that he stole from the public. 6 Russian oligarchs have now died since January. very interesting. Was just watching Bill Browder on CNN, who's a very famous former American, now British businessman, who actually went to school with my cousin, who's friends of Browder, which is just wild. I mean, I know who Browder was before the Russia stuff blew up, but now it's really big. But anyway, he was saying on CNN that, this is not a coincidence that 6 oligarchs have died. He said, no, Russia did it, clearly. Mariupol, the Russian troops, so Mariupol is that town in the south that was very key, or still is very key to the Russians getting it so they can have this land corridor between eastern Ukraine that they're trying to steal and Crimea, which they stole in 2014. They want that land bridge connecting them. Mariupol's right in the middle. Mariupol is also the town where the holdouts are now, oh, that's pretty. Thank you for that, the music. The holdouts have now been fighting in that steel plant that Putin finally declared victory, even because he couldn't win. He couldn't win, so he just declared victory and says, we've completed and we own the town now. Not really. They got most of the town. They didn't win. The Ukrainians beat them basically, and they just said, okay, we can't beat you. But anyway, so the Russian troops again stopped civilians from escaping Mariupol. Very bad. One of the things that came out in the media today was the Russian Ministry of Defense and the Russian media is convinced that somebody very high level from NATO, like NATO mercenaries or another high level person, is hiding in Mariupol in that steel plant because, and this is the best part, why else would the Ukrainian government and the West care so much about all those civilians and military trapped inside that steel plant that the Russians are? There's 1,000 civilians and 1,000 military reportedly. Thank you for that, Pamela. Reportedly in that plant. And the West has been very concerned about this. The Ukrainian government is. And the Russians are saying, why would you care about it? Okay, this is what I'm saying. You'll get it as I'm saying. Why would you care so much about 1,000 of your troops dying? Why would you care so much about 1,000 of your citizens dying? There must be something else going on. It must be that you have spies there. I mean, it's because it just doesn't enter the Russian. And again, even if somebody had said on TikTok to me, maybe they're lying, and it might be a lie. In other words, maybe they don't think there's a spy there, but they think, it shows what they think. They think a good message to put out there is because everyone would agree with them that, of course, nobody would care about 1,000 of their troops dying. Oh, who would care about that? Nobody would care about 1,000 of their. Even Kukla's upset. Yeah, are you upset? You are. I know. Come here. I'll lift you up and show everybody you while I'm trying to talk over. Come here. Oh, I try to talk over your bark. This is Mom's dog. Okay. Up. All right. We'll try to shut you up for a minute while we're talking, Kukla. Otherwise, you're getting thrown into the other room as you throw my notes to the front. But yeah, so the Russians, oops, you're taking my microphone with you, Kukla. I'm going to hold it here. You want to go down? You do want to go down. Okay, you're being a pain. So the point is, up. You are really taking my. Are you going to let go of my mic? Thank you. So the point here is, the Russians think the world is going to, of course, agree with them and say, why would any country want to save 1,000 troops? Oh, that's very sorry. I have to stop on TikTok because that was very cool what somebody just put up. Why would you want to save so many citizens? Clearly, there's something up. Again, getting inside the Russian mind. And our Ukrainian friend John Dees is back. Okay, folks, give John a little sunflower here. Little few sunflower. Wait, what's he saying? No. Stop. Now my dog's trying to play. Nope. John, you're getting John Dees. You're getting lots of little sunflowers over on TikTok. Just so you know. Thank you, TikTokers, for that. I think the TikTokers started this about. Stop, both of you. Stop. We've got my dog and Mom's dog who have become like they amplify each other's evilness. Yeah, no, Mom's dog's doing it too. Whenever I'm on with you guys, I mean it's funny, but it's really annoying. The TikTokers started last week, I think, when some Russian, either it was the Russian trolls who came on or some Ukrainians, and they just started throwing sunflowers. And we were like, what a great idea. So now whenever Ukrainians come and visit us, either on TikTok or on YouTube, if we see them, we throw up sunflowers because it's the national flower of Ukraine. Yay. And if there's Russians, we throw it up too, but for a different reason. Which I still worry maybe I can't explain on TikTok or YouTube, especially on TikTok. TikTok is already playing games enough. I don't know if you noticed on TikTok, by the way, if you notice how all my videos seem to be stuck at 20,000 views lately, my Ukraine videos. Oh, thank you, Navy Proud. That's very pretty. I like that. I don't think I've seen that one before exactly. All my videos seem stuck at around 20,000 views. Now, before I'd get 5,000, 20,000, 100,000. It would just go back and forth. Now, every day it's like 14,000, 18,000, 19,000. It's always right below 20. I saw Ukrainian TikToker complaining about this the other day too, and saying the same thing, that suddenly his videos now get stuck at 20,000. So sadly, there's a bit of a game going on still with, now they're not trying to ban us outright. I was banned for a while from doing these lives. The Russians got me banned. Now they're doing this weird thing where they throttle our videos. What do you do? Anyway, I will keep producing them. You will keep watching them and sharing them, I hope. So I saw the origami. Thank you. The children, oh God, this is bad news. On April 21st, that would be today, 2 days ago, the Ukrainian government says that Russians delivered 308 deported Mariupol residents. So they took 308 of the residents in that town in the south that they've been beating the bejesus out of for 2 months, took them, moved them to Vladivostok, which is way out in the Russian Far East on the Pacific. We're talking 11. I mean, if this is Russia, far west is Ukraine by Europe, far east is literally the Pacific Ocean north of Japan. I mean, north of China, north of Japan. So they moved the families out there. It includes 90 children have been moved out there. So they're basically taking people and trying to basically just turn them into Russians, moving them all over the country. I've only got a couple more updates, and then we'll go into the questions. Oh, yeah, the Russian government, this came out today, too. The Russian government has ordered that all textbooks in Russia no longer mention the word Ukraine. Any mention of the word Ukraine has to be removed now from Russian textbooks. That's called genocide. Canada is sending heavy artillery. Good for Canada. Because remember, the artillery is what they really need. That's great. Oh, and then I was going to conclude just showing the final. I had a bigger list of the U.S. arms shipments to date, which have gotten much better. 1,400 Stinger missiles. The Stingers are the shoulder-held ones that are good for shooting down planes. Drones, too. I don't know if you'd waste it on a drone, but using for shooting down planes and things. 5,500 Javelins, 5,500. These are the ones that go on your shoulder. And I'll get you, Franny. I see you there. Javelins are those things that go on the shoulder. I believe the ones with kind of the big circle in front. And they're for shooting tanks and other on-the-ground vehicles. 700 Switchblades. That's good. Switchblades are the kamikaze drones. Now, they come in two sizes. So the drones that go up, they could be in the air only 20 to 40 minutes or so, and then have to come down and crash into something, and there's some explosives in the nose of the device. Either they're smaller and they're used for killing individuals, like drivers of vehicles or a general on a phone, or the larger ones are used for literally blowing up tanks and things. Don't know what size we've sent. We sent 14 of those counter artillery radars. The radars, I said at the beginning of the show, that you use for basically identifying where artillery fire is coming from and immediately hitting them back. So as soon as the howitzer or whatever fires, our system, the Ukrainian system, will go, oh, there he is, and immediately hit him. So then they blow up the howitzer itself. So no more artillery. And the final thing, this is an interesting one. This we're going to read more about as time goes on, but these 121 of these Phoenix drones, they're being called, they're kamikaze drones. They pack apparently a very good punch. They're easy to learn, which is good for the Ukrainians because it's a new weapon. And they stay in the air for up to 6 hours. So you can send these things in the air, and rather than having to decide in 20 minutes what you're going to hit, because that is a short period of time, you better be sure what you want to hit if you're sending up something, which within 20 minutes is going to crash anyway, right? But if you got 6 hours, you can send this up because there's some Russians in the area. Maybe there was a tank, but you wanted to look around and see what else. And for example, what else could be, while it's in the air for 6 hours, you get some signals intelligence, some phone intelligence or radio intelligence that you hear a general talking on the phone, and now you know where the general is, and you go, forget it. Let's not hit the tank. Let's hit the general instead. So being in the air 6 hours lets you track a target, but it gives you more time to look for even better targets. So really big deal. And that's it. That's it for the update today. That was pretty good. Not too long. Now what we do is, and I've got a question already waiting for me here. We do the questions and answers. As I said on TikTok, submit them with the Q&A in the bottom. On YouTube, feel free to use the questions. And if you feel particularly generous, feel free to do a super chat question or a super sticker, which isn't a question. It's just a way of saying thanks. Let's see here. Franny, hold on, my glasses. I think I did shrink the screen a little. Hold on, it does make it bigger. Okay, I made the screen small, and all of a sudden everything was dinky. Franny McDowell asks, what do you think about Russia informing citizens to prepare for NATO retaliatory nuclear attack this Sunday? Well, the question, my grace, I did see that. Thank you. The question there is whether it was Russia or whether it was hacked. I saw that a few days ago, and the thought was that it was a hack, in part because well, in part because of the graphic that was used, the main distance it was showing Russians how far away from a nuclear blast you'd be dead, you'd be injured, you'd be whatever, a building destroyed, a building harmed. And it used miles as the main measurement and then kilometers in parens, which is weird because for Russians, I'm pretty sure, right? Russians, like most of Europe, use kilometers. So why wouldn't you have kilometers first? A lot of us thought that the website was hacked, and that in fact it was hacked in a way that was trying to scare the Russians and the Russian citizens, because the whole thing is, what it was it was information claiming to be for the Russian government. It was the FEMA website of Russia, basically meaning the Federal Emergency Management website, the government agency that deals with disasters. So disasters could be an earthquake, it could be a volcano. That's very pretty on YouTube, on TikTok. Thank you. I'm not sure. I have seen that one a few times, and I like that one. It could be natural disasters. It could be a nuclear attack, hurricanes, right? Things like that. So the website had information up telling Russians what to do if not if America nukes them, but if America has a retaliatory nuclear attack. What that means is, what will happen to us if we decide to hit America first, or NATO, and they hit us second? And it had all sorts of information about all these drugs, iodine, blah, blah, blah. And then it showed this graph that showed you like how many miles out you'd be dead, how many miles out you'd have cancer and radiation, how many miles out you'd be injured. To me, that's trying to scare people. And the fact that it said retaliatory strike, to me said, if you decide, Russia, that you want to attack NATO, because you keep talking about the nukes, thank you, Pamela, for that, because you want to attack NATO with your nukes, here, Russia, is what's going to happen to you when they retaliate. You're going to be dead within 5 miles of Moscow. You're going to, right, this kind of thing, just to scare the bejesus out of them. So, Franny, that's how I took it. I took it as it was somebody hacking it and trying to scare the hell out of the Russians. So who knows? But basically saying, oh, you like to talk about nuclear weapons? Let's talk about nuclear weapons. And the fact how you're not going to survive, and neither will we, if a nuclear war starts. So maybe, as it said in war games, you know, the only way to win is not to play the game. What do we got here? Nicola or Nicola. I keep calling you Nicola. It could be Nicola. Thank you for that. It's funny. I read your last name and I thought it was Maslav. I'm assuming that's English and not Russian or Ukrainian. I literally looked, because without my glasses too, I was like, Maslav. Or would it be Maspav? No, Maslav, I think. Yeah, that's funny. McNabb. That'll be your Ukrainian name for the show. All right. Be kind. What did I miss here? Here we go. Java Violet, I did send that. Yeah. I was just answering that one. Thanks, Be Kind. Yep, I just answered that one. Just look and see if there's anything else I forgot. Otherwise, we will jump. Wait, did I have another starred one? No, I got it. Okay, I'm going to jump to TikTok questions then, and then we'll come back to YouTube as well. Thanks, guys. And as I said, 1 second, let me look here first. That's an interesting question, huh? So the main character, or character I, asks on TikTok, what happens if Russia invades Moldova? That's interesting. 1 second. Water, and then interesting answer. Moldova is a former Soviet republic, so part of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union died, dissolved in 1991, and independent countries sprang up or were released from bondage, like Ukraine, the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Georgia, and one of them was Moldova, right? So they became independent countries. Moldova, long story there about Russia having troops and fomenting and into sort of regions, independence, causing all sorts of trouble like they do in Ukraine. The concern is that the Russians now, at least a Russian general, was threatening to go after Odessa in the south. Remember, because I think maybe I said this, but rather than just going after the east and kind of doing what it's got in the south, now they're talking about, hey, maybe we'll go further west and we'll take the town of Odessa. And maybe we'll go further west and we'll take Moldova, an entire other country. Like, they've got these crazy grandiose plans when they're not doing very well. I mean, all the experts are saying not even to worry about it. They've got cruise missiles, so they could destroy Odessa with cruise missiles. Yes. Can they take Odessa? No, the experts don't think so. Same thing with Moldova. I don't think they've got the manpower or whatever to do it. Now, if it happened, I think the most you'd see from NATO you would see NATO at even more a higher alert status because, and I'd have to pull it up in front of me. It's funny. I was just looking at the map this morning, just trying to once again get my my map of the region, because I was never so good at like Ukraine, like that whole region around the Black Sea, sort of west of the Black Sea. But I was looking today at Moldova, and the reason I'm bringing this up is on Google Maps, because I don't trust Apple Maps, even though I'm a big Apple guy. Hold on, this is my old iPad. We got Mom a new iPad. I'm considering getting it. We got Mom a new iPad today or this week. That was, I say only because usually they're much more expensive, $320. And it looks like they're going to give us $120 to turn in her old iPad, which kind of blew my mind because $220 for a pretty good working iPad. It's the newest simple iPad, so it's 2 years old, is pretty amazing. I may get it too because I don't need fancy. $200 to $300 for a good iPad. Okay, here we go. Moldova. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this is because in answer to your question, so if Russia were to invade Moldova, that's exactly what I thought. So the issue you've got, and again, it's kind of hard to see on here. I'm going to put my finger on Moldova. Kind of hard to tell, but bottom line, I'll explain it to you. Next to Moldova, you've got, so Moldova is almost looks like it was part of Ukraine. It's funny looking. I don't know the history, but looking at the map, I'm guessing there were some wars there hundreds of years back. But right southwest of Moldova is Romania, and you're talking a NATO member. So all of a sudden, if the Russians moved there and took Moldova, you would now have the Russians on NATO's border with a new country that they've stolen, and NATO would not be happy. It doesn't mean NATO goes to war, but I think all of a sudden you might start to see NATO jets. You might start to see lots of other things moving in to the area. So at the very least, you would see an amplification of the war, I think, for sure. Beep-a-deep-a-deep. Let me see. Get a pencil with the new iPad. That's funny. Well, let's talk about that in the end, because that's funny you said that, because I didn't, because I wasn't sure what to use a pencil for. Let's talk about that in the Q&A in the end. Afterwards, after we finish this, we're going to go till around quarter after the hour, folks. Afterwards, we hang out for like 15 minutes and just chat for fun. Anything that isn't politics. Yesterday, I gave my recipe for no-knead bread that Mom uses, that she loves. And we can talk about the use of an iPad pen, which I never even considered. Anything here? Okay, nope. I'm going to go back to TikTok then. You TikTokers, you guys are always good. And feel free to keep throwing those gifts at me on TikTok. I do love them and I appreciate them. Remember, sorting hat's my favorite. But, all right. How many troops can Russia afford to lose? That's an interesting question, Gustav. Gustav is asking on TikTok, how many troops can Russia afford to lose? More. Well, they've already lost more than they can afford to lose, basically. I don't know how many, but the experts are saying they already don't have enough troops. They've been moving troops in. They apparently need a lot more than they've got. What I was hearing this morning or yesterday was Russia needs like 3 times. They need an advantage of 3-1 over Ukraine. So 3 times the number of Russian troops as Ukrainian troops. That's not what they've got. That's just not what they've got. Oh, hang on. We got something. Oh, I remember that. That is a cool one. Thank you. On TikTok, I had to see what the graphic was. Thank you. That's not what they've got. So they already don't have enough. On the weapons front, we saw this in the last day or two reported that the Russians are sending equipment back to Russia to be fixed. I compared it to Santa's workshop. Or no, it's like the Grinch. I will send it back to my factory to be fixed and to bring it back here. Well, they're sending their weapons back, their big weapons back to Russia to be fixed and to come back because they don't have enough big weapons. They don't have enough equipment. So they can't just let it sit on the side of the road anymore. They're literally having to like tow it, which ironically with the Ukrainian farmers, like tow it back to Russia to be fixed. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. Thank you for the origami. So I think they've already passed the limit of the number of people they can lose. The question becomes now what happens? Like it's not enough right now that the Ukrainians just roll over them, but the experts were saying for example, one of the things I was reading, I may have talked about this last night. One of the things I was reading was that, the Russians are winning a couple of these little villages and stuff, but not much more. And the Ukrainians might even be letting them win. Like the Ukrainians are basically attacking, attacks of opportunity, which is what they were doing in Kyiv, and letting the Russians kind of move a little bit. And then they attack again and shoring up their own energy, shoring up their own weapons, waiting, by the way, for more NATO weapons to come. Because we know that the hello. Oh, you want to be current? Dog is on the chair behind me. Now she wants to be covered up behind me. Okay, there you go. There you go. Waiting for the artillery to arrive, right? Waiting for these kamikaze drones. Some of them have arrived, but more of them. And then the big pushback. So basically, Ukraine can afford to wait and bide its time. Was it rope-a-dope with Muhammad Ali in boxing, where he'd sort of sit on the side and just protect himself, and the other guy would beat so hard that the other guy would be exhausted, and then he would wham him. I think that's to some degree what you're seeing from what the experts are saying. Ukraine's just kind of sitting back, letting Russia do stuff, use its. I mean, it is hurting people, of course, but all the while, Ukraine's artillery is moving in. The new radars are moving in. The new American killer drones are moving in. And when Ukraine decides to fight back in a week or two, it could be really good for Ukraine. But yeah, the experts are already saying they passed the point of they've lost too many men already. They don't have enough. What do we got here? That's a really interesting question. Stacey Morgan asked, does Russia allow women to join the military? We know Ukraine does. I even saw, by the way, a neat article yesterday in the press, but again, I couldn't tell you. I read everything, so I couldn't tell you where it was, but they were profiling like a Ukrainian military unit because one of the soldiers is a woman. And it was really cool. Like her name was Olena, I think, like Olena, like with an O maybe, Olena. And it was really cool, like the story. But so I know the Ukrainians let women join the military. I would doubt the Russians do, but who knows? You tell me, folks. Anybody in here on the Russians, whether they let women in the military? But I'd be very surprised. Any other? I'm looking here again. Happy to. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know, Michaela. That's about Moldova rejoining Romania. Who knows? Okay, I'm gonna jump back to TikTok, guys. All right. The fundraiser. Let me ask real quick, and then I'll go back to you, TikTok guys. Mosaic Crone asked regarding the fundraiser we're doing. We're raising money to get 2 used cars, and then buy a ton of food that will fill those used cars to the gills, drive them across Ukraine, drop all the food in Kharkiv, which is the second largest city that's getting bombed to death by the Russians. And I mean, a lot of bad. They've really bombing it hard. They're hitting residential buildings. And I mean, they're literally 10 miles away from Russia. So Kharkiv is, the Russians are right there. They're trying to enter the city. They're also passing near the city. It's right at the edge of this huge battle for the East taking place. Anyway, we want to ship a ton of food there. And then the food will be used by the humanitarian groups, the volunteers who are making meals and then like literally packaging meals like home delivery, like Uber Eats or like home delivery. Boxes or bags of food, individual containers of food. They're going into the subways and distributing food to people in the subways who are, of course, there as bomb shelters. And then we're going to be giving the cars, at least loaning the cars to the humanitarian groups so they can do the food deliveries all across. They're already doing food deliveries, but one of the problems it was funny. I was asking Vlad about this, my friend Vlad, who's helping to organize, who is organizing it with the food organizations he's in touch with. He said, we need the cars because nobody's car works because all the cars are shot up. They've all got bullet holes in them. I was like, oh my God. So they're buying cars that are just good enough to last several months. That was Vlad's quote. So they're not, they're looking at about 3,000 to 4,000 a car, maybe, if they can. They've already found a place to buy it. I'm not going to go through any details of that, but anyway. So if you guys want to help, I always say the link is here on YouTube. The link is in my profile. Go to Beacons and you'll see the top 2 links in the Beacons link on my profile, the top 2 links you arrive at. But anyway, what Mosaic was asking was, will this be ongoing indefinitely so we can help them buy gas for deliveries? I mean, yes. The only thing is what we're kind of doing is we're trying to find different specific things. Like, for example, a couple of weeks ago, we raised money specifically for medical kits, but for military grade trauma kits, the kind of medical kits you would get if you had a bullet hole, if you had a hole in your chest, if you had your hand cut off in an explosion. I mean, not the kind of things you'd have at home, a Band-Aid. These are military quality kits that a soldier would literally wear. And if they get knocked out and they're dying, another soldier comes up, opens the kit and saves them. So we bought 82. I did a video on this, 82 of those. They were about $105 each. And then they were asking for specific bandage type things, but these very expensive bandages. So we bought all these different kind of bandages. I couldn't even tell you. One had like silver nitrate or silver alginate or something like that. I don't even know. But these high-end bandages they wanted all got bought on Amazon, all got sent to a Ukrainian American charity in New York. And they are sending tons of this stuff every week. So they were able to send it, pay for it, which is great. So we were able to spend all. In any case, but we've been doing like different fundraisers every couple of weeks. So I can't promise in 3 weeks if the fundraiser via the same links is going to be for the gas. It may be, for example, it may be to help a particular family. My guess is we're going to keep trying to do more for helping these groups, because most of the money you guys have donated has gone to help the food aid organizations in Kharkiv. Because that's where Vlad himself, who's my friend, who's in southwestern Ukraine, he's from Kharkiv and fled with his family, wife, parents, grandparents, in-law, grandparents-in-law, 3-year-old daughter. They all fled because, his parents, especially his parents, were between Kharkiv and Russia, which means like 5 miles away from Russia. Thank God his dad got out, because that would have been bad. But even Kharkiv itself, he didn't want his wife and 3-year-old daughter there with the bombing. So they're all in southwestern Ukraine, and Vlad is helping organize all these humanitarian things. So I'm just not going to promise you that if you donate in 3 weeks, it'll be for gas. But I think that's a neat idea. If they need, what I think we'll do, I'll mention this to Vlad. What we're doing anyway is Vlad has 2 different aid groups he's dealing with. When I say aid groups, I mean these volunteer groups of citizens who are finding donations for food, making the food in mass, and then going and delivering it, doing soup lines. Like they had literally food line in the Kharkiv metro. I put one of the videos on the subway on TikTok, and you see all these older women lined up with their Tupperware, their plasticware, getting the soup and all the food that they can take to their families. So, I'll mention the gas thing, but at this point they wanted food, and they also wanted vehicles. That was the 2 big things they wanted. I'll finish with that and then move on. The one of the big reasons they want the food, by the way, is because there's the government doesn't want us buying food in Kharkiv itself. Initially, we gave one donation alone of your guys' money, by the way, 100% of what we don't take anything, 100% of your money. There was one donation alone of $4,000 to one food group in Kharkiv that they went out and then just bought a ton of food and then cooked it up for the people. The problem is the government finally said in Kharkiv, they said, you know what, could you stop buying the food out of the grocery stores, because you're literally, when you come in and purchase $4,000 worth of food, you're entering the grocery store. And then there's literally nothing left for the citizens who can still go to the grocery or whatever. So they've asked them to try to bring in food. So that's part of the reason for the car too. Vlad is going to buy the food in Western Ukraine, where it is plentiful, where the only thing going on is occasional Russian bombs that are annoying, but day-to-day life is safe, knock on wood at this point, and there's no food shortages. So he's going to be buying the food there, filling up the cars, and then going cross country. So anyway, that's why it's such a complicated thing. Otherwise, we would do what we're doing before. We literally raised money and just gave your guys money directly to the food organizations who then bought stuff. But more complicated now, because now we're getting into war, food shortages, etc. That was a very long way of answering that. But anyway, thank you for helping on that. Like I said, you can go to my profile, the Beacons link, click through. Top 2 things are how you give. Pretty much Vlad's PayPal is, I know Europeans hate it, guys. I'm sorry, it's the easiest way. His PayPal, and on here, Be Kind shared the link for you YouTubers. Tyson Ann, any updates on Chernobyl and the other nuclear plants? Nothing. I mean, we do know that Chernobyl is now in sorry, I got a very, my lip got super chapped. It's annoying. Chernobyl nuclear plant, the Russians had taken it over for a good, maybe it was 20 days. I want to say a month, but I thought it was 20 days. And finally, the Ukrainians took back over. There have been no updates, so I'm assuming it's going okay now that the Ukrainians are back in charge. Zaporizhia was the other one the Russians were after, and I don't remember if they were firing on Zaporizhia. I don't remember if they finally took Zaporizhia or not. I don't remember. But there's been no updates. Now, nothing in the news, so I'm going to assume nothing earth-shattering because it hasn't been in the news. Let me go and grab another TikTok question. Hang on, guys. Always easier for my glasses on TikTok. Q&A. I'm going to scroll down so I get some of the other ones. Already you guys have like a couple dozen questions here on TikTok. Allie, good question. Good question from Allie. Allie IV24 asks, why hasn't Biden gone to Ukraine? I think he should have. I was a little bummed he didn't. I thought Biden should have. I thought it was a really good opportunity for him when the other Western leaders were going. And I should have a little sticky note I put on the side of my computer, because I always ask you guys every time. Poland, Czech Republic, and maybe Slovakia. I'm forgetting the third one. I'm gonna offend some country by leaving you out here. But remember, we had initially the first 3 Eastern European leaders, heads of state, presidents, I believe, went to Ukraine. And it was like, oh my God, remember they came in on the train and they had the secret meeting with Zelensky and stuff. Then you've had a lot of other leaders go there. And Boris Johnson from England, from the UK went at this point, 2 weeks ago, I'll bet you. I think Biden should have gone. Biden was in Poland. Hell, Biden was there before all of them. Biden was there like 3 weeks ago in Poland, near the border. He should have gone across. I think the Secret Service told him it's too dangerous. And I think Biden, personally, I mean, I'm just saying, if I were president, it was too much of an opportunity. Too much of an opportunity. I think so. And I don't think, I mean, somebody's saying Biden could have been a target. I don't think so. I think that's one of those situations where you let the Russians know and you say, at 2:00, Biden's taking this train or this whatever across the border, and you know exactly where he is. And if anybody attacks that car or that train, we're going to war with you. And that's what you do. And the Russians wouldn't dare touch him. And this, by the way, is why when those first 3 presidents went over, remember when they went over and we were all surprised because they said, oh, they're going to be meeting him in Kyiv tomorrow or Sunday or whatever it was. And they're going to be taking a train from either Poland or Slovakia or somewhere. They're going to take a train and the train was going to go all the way up to Kyiv. And all of us at first were thinking, oh my God, you're telling them like the path and everything. Wouldn't they just bomb the trains? Well, of course, they're not going to bomb the trains because that would be declaring war on NATO. And they can't even beat the Ukrainians. No offense to the Ukrainians, but they can't even beat the Ukrainians. There's no way in hell they can beat NATO. So you tell them in order, the same reason Russia told us about that nuclear missile test the other day. You tell them so that there's no accidents. You tell them so that America doesn't think, oh my God, Russia has launched a nuclear missile. Now we need to launch a missile at them. We go, okay, it's a test. No problem. We'll keep an eye on it, but it's a test. Same thing. If Russia knows where these guys are, they know to tell their troops, don't you dare touch that caravan that has President Biden or President of Poland in it. So there's ways of doing it. I think it's risky, but you know what? I also think politically, and I'm sorry, but this is who I am too. I've been working in politics for 30 years. I always have my political hat on too. And part of me advising President Biden would be advising him the best way to help with this war. But he needs to win re-election. I mean, if you're Biden, he needs to win re-election, and his party needs to win re-election in the fall. And in some very tough congressional races where currently Democrats are expected to lose, possibly losing. I would be saying, you need to get over there and own this war. You need to be the hero that goes over there. And American people say, oh, you aren't as Sleepy Joe. You're Strong Joe that went to Kyiv. Politically, and I know it's crass to talk politics, but we are talking about politicians. You may not like them thinking about politics, but a politician is always worried about how they're getting reelected and if they're getting reelected. So you add that into the equation. Anyway, that's my long answer of saying, of course, I think Biden should have gone. Of course, he should have gone earlier. It's still good that these guys are going now. I mean, Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State are very good people to send. Yes. Let me see. I'm going to see on YouTube. The YouTube guys always crack me up because you TikTok folks are always, you've got a bazillion questions, and the YouTube folks are always happy chatting amongst themselves, which is fine. It just makes me laugh a little bit. Okay. The YouTubers are chatting amongst themselves. That means TikTok gets another question. What else we got here? No news on the fires in Russia. Nothing new today. No, there were only 3 fires in the last 2 days or 3 days now. No new fires today that I know of. Ukraine seems to be doing okay. Renegade Majesty asks, how is Ukraine dealing with logistics? Logistics is you've got basically, okay, it's the supply of food, water, ammunition, and gasoline, diesel fuel to your troops. Because, it's almost easier to explain it with the Russians than anybody, even for the Ukrainians, but the Russians even better. They're invading Ukraine. Let's say now they're coming in from the east. They're invading Ukraine and coming in, going west. Well, as they go west, those troops at the very front, they need food, they need water, they need gasoline for their cars and their diesel fuel for their tanks. Right? And every 2 days, 1 to 2 days, you've got to refuel a tank. So every 1 to 2 days, all of a sudden they get 50 miles from Russia, 100 miles from Russia, 60 kilometers, vice versa, maybe 130 kilometers from Russia, 140 kilometers. They need gas. I mean, they don't just go to a gas station. They have to have a logistics line, a supply line that's bringing gas to the front, that's bringing food to the front. I mean, right? 50,000 troops have to eat every day. They can raid homes, which they've been doing, which they shouldn't be doing, but how much of that can you do, right? So the Ukrainians apparently are much better at logistics than the Russians. Yes, they are still going to have to be good at logistics. The Russians are going to be hitting their logistics. They already are. They're hitting airports. They're hitting some bridges, I think, and other things. So they're going to be hitting places that the Ukrainians would use to refuel themselves. So that will be an ongoing problem. But from what I'm hearing, the Ukrainians don't just suck at it like the Russians do. So that's a good start, at least. I mean, the Russians are bad at it. And then you come the question of, if it gets bombed, then you've got to find a new way if the highway's bombed or the train is bombed or something like that, Another TikTok question. Those lightning questions. Never doing those again. We've talked about, actually, we've talked a lot about Putin's health, really. Sean Smith, just depends when. There's nothing new on it. Putin the other day was looking really awful it almost looked like a green screen, which means like a fake photoshopped video that he was doing, talking to maybe the Secretary of State of Russia, some guy, I don't know who it was. And Putin was sitting there and quite literally grabbing the table like he was riding a roller coaster. He's grabbing the table like this. His face is down. He's looking like Mitch McConnell. I mean, it's like big face. And his face is just swollen. I mean, he looked awful. And I always say, when you watch him walking, watch some of the videos of Putin walking. And he's got this exaggerated, this ridiculous arm swing. Maybe he does it to look bigger because he's like 5'7" or something. I don't know what that is in meters, but it's very small. It's this much shorter than me. He's very short. And he swings his arm like this when he walks, and it's exaggerated. And you notice the other arm isn't moving. So there's something going on physically with him. It could be Parkinson's. People have said Parkinson's or something that causes, like a palsy, because that would explain why he's because if his hand is shaking and he's moving, maybe you'd see the hand shaking. If you keep it tight, maybe you stop it from shaking. Also, grabbing it, when he grabs the table and then you see one hand let go and talk, but the other hand is still grabbing the table. That looks like someone who's trying to stop their hand from shaking, right? You grab and hold on tight. So there's not concerns, but maybe thoughts as to whether that's what he's got going on. There were rumors about him having thyroid cancer because there was some report that Putin had a thyroid doctor visit him like 36 times over 5 years. A thyroid cancer doctor, an oncologist for thyroid come. So who knows? But he doesn't look well. But, just because someone doesn't look well doesn't mean they're going to die anytime soon. So you can't count on it. But, oh, that's funny. Maybe that's interesting too. Yeah. Knox says his hand not moving when walking is because he was KGB, always keeping his hand near his gun. Could be. And he is paranoid. Putin, we know, is super paranoid about people around him, which also might explain why he has that ridiculous 40-foot long table, like the table that's like, 15 meters or something, just ridiculous, because people think it's not because he's afraid of COVID. It's because he's afraid of his generals trying to kill him, which is crazy. Okay, Margaret's saying the same thing. Interesting. A number of you. His arm doesn't move due to KGB training. Very interesting. Okay, very interesting. Somebody else thinks it was a heart attack. Hard to say. Let me see. Let's grab another question here on TikTok. We'll go another 15 minutes, guys. Thanks, Pasta Trev. Are you excited for your first day off in 2 months? I never really thought about it that way, but that's not true. I had Sunday off last Sunday because I was traveling from DC to Chicago. So I took Sunday off because I was flying with the dog, although flying with the dog wasn't actually the day off because you're flying and you're tired. And when I've traveled with my dog who flies in the plane, you basically buy a ticket for her. It's like $100 each way. But when I travel with her, I'm always worried about her. So like in the airport, I'm keeping an eye. She's meeting people and I'm keeping an eye on her. So this will be the first actual day off tomorrow. Yes, because tomorrow is Greek Easter, as we say, or Orthodox Easter for a lot of everybody else. And I'm going to take the day off because it's too hard I can't do, well, maybe I'll pop in the evening and surprise you all for half an hour. We'll see. But today once we finish the show, I've got to go and then make my pasticcio, which is like we say Greek lasagna, but I find it offensive to call it. It's not. I love lasagna. I make a very good lasagna, but it's not lasagna. It's not even close to lasagna, but it's very good. So I'm going to make some here with Ma, which is always a little annoying because, cooking with your mother, do you always use that much butter? You're like, Actually, we did. We had this fight last Easter. Sorry, I don't mean to go off too much of a tangent, but we had this fight last Easter because I was making this very dish. And she literally said to me, do you always use that much butter? And I said, Mom, it's your recipe. I'm like, let me show it to you. No, it's not. I'm like, it's your hand. I had copied somehow. I took a Xerox of her recipe when I was younger to take it to school. And I'm like, and I've got a picture on my phone, and I'm like, your handwriting, your recipe. She's like, oh, well, I don't make it that way anymore. I'm like, oh. Yeah, it's my mother. My mother with the, love my mother, but that was my favorite. Do you always add this much butter? No, you do. All right, what do we got here? Oops. Dan 988. Any word on Russia's scrambling of GPS satellites and how it's disrupting civil? Oh, no. So Dan says, any word on Russia scrambling GPS satellites and how it's disrupting civilian aircraft, commercial flights? No, I haven't heard that at all. The only thing we were worried about, remember, way back was the launching of 5G and whether that was going to screw everything up with our planes. I didn't hear anything of Russia doing that. Is it part of sort of well, it's not cyber, but I guess you could put it in the same category in a sense. No, I mean, was there any talk of them doing that recently? I mean, feel free. I'm happy to discuss this more with you. You can put a question in without paying for it as a follow-up, Dan, if you want. But I didn't even hear about that as a risk, which is interesting. No. Somebody's saying 5'7" is 1.7 meters. He's short. Putin's very short. Yeah. Which matters because he's also Mr. Macho, try to be. So being short, I couldn't care less. But if you are one of these men who's really worried about being Mr. I'm more macho, ¿quién es más macho? That was a comedy thing years ago in the US, who's the more macho man than me, then being 5'7" doesn't help because, you want to be a big man, like the mayor of, the mayor of Kiev and his brother, the boxer. Let's find another question, guys. Well, they're doing, that's it. Oh, I forgot to even mention that. That's a good question. Heinz57 asks on TikTok, do you expect a big push by Russia prior to May 9th? So, yeah, and that's what they're doing. And that's another of the reasons they're screwing up and why the experts think Ukraine's going to do better. Putin wants a big victory by May 9th, whether it's the victory or a big victory. So a big victory could mean, he wins the East. He's able to take Donbass, that whole region, right, and control it. But he wants the big victory by May 9th because May 9th is the sort of victory in Europe day for the Russians. It's the victory over the Nazis in World War II. It's the day they celebrate. And he wants it because, of course, he wants to say he had victory over the Nazis again in Ukraine this time. Because remember, they claim Ukraine's run by Nazis and all the citizens are Nazis. So what happened was the Russian troops, the thinking is they started this war. Well, they started the war overall when they weren't ready. Now they're starting the war in the East when they're not ready. And they're doing it, thank you, Canada, maybe? Canada's in or something like that. They're starting the war in the East because they're trying to win in time for Putin to declare victory on May 9th, 2 weeks from now, which is insane. That's not why you launch when you're ready. You don't launch based on an artificial schedule, based on the fact that, your boss is an idiot. But yeah, he's trying to do it on May 9th, which is to celebrate the victory, the day the Russians celebrate the victory against the Nazis, from World War II. It's insane. But good news, again, good news for the Ukrainians because it means Russians launched a war when they weren't ready. So, woo! But craziness. Yep. Oh, let me look. You guys are still discussing Putin's height? Okay. Still discussing Putin's height. Thanks. I'll say hi to my mom. Thank you, FIFO. I will. I think they would. I mean, everything Recovery Show says if Mariupol falls, will the world admit it? I think so because, look, we already know that most of Mariupol was taken except for this factory, which, mind you, it's 1,000 troops, though. But the world's already admitted that. So I think, if the factory falls, thank you, Busy Lizzie, if the factory falls, they're going to admit it. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have admitted this so far. They wouldn't have even admitted that. They would have said, that's not true. A third of Mariupol is still contested or whatever, right? So I don't think I think they would say, yeah. I mean, because Mariupol is a loss, and it certainly helps Russia because Russia, I was hearing today or last night that they still may not be in charge. One of the things that Mariupol's important because of that whole it's important to trying to own that tract of land connecting eastern Ukraine to Crimea, because they stole Crimea and they want to steal eastern Ukraine and they want a land connection between them. But part of it is apparently there's some very important road crossways that go through Mariupol, maybe train as well, but road I was hearing. And the idea is the Russians want to control those roadways because then it's logistics, right? Through the region overall. So that's one of the reasons Mariupol is very important. Dan, follow up. You didn't have to follow up there, but thank you. Russia's satellite jammers are interrupting commercial airlines per a story in the Washington Examiner 1st of April. I mean, I'm a little surprised the Examiner got the story unless they were quoting something else, just because, they're a smaller they're a conservative paper, but they're a small paper. It would almost be like Salon getting the scoop or something, and no one else, not to knock Salon, but, getting a military scoop that nobody else got. I wonder, my suspicion is that they might have been referencing another story. Okay, let me put it this way. If they weren't, thank you for the sunflowers. If they weren't referencing another story, I'd be worried about the credibility, just because I'd say, I doubt the Examiner is going to get a military scoop nobody else has. If they're quoting another story and they say, first reported in the Wall Street Journal or somebody credible, then I'd believe it. But that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'll write it down and look it up. I don't know, Russia satellite jamming, huh? Now, I will tell you this. One thing that's interesting about you raising that is, I'd mentioned this weeks ago, that one of the pieces of equipment that the Ukrainians got their hands on, it's a rather large, like 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot kind of thing, like 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters, if not more, bigger than that even, box that is a sophisticated Russian jamming system they use for jamming low-flying satellites. They use it for jamming drones, and some other kind of low-fly, I think even cruise missiles, possibly jamming cruise missiles. And the Ukrainians got a hold of it when the Russians got beaten back in northern Ukraine, and the U.S. military experts were basically salivating on Twitter, looking at this thing, going, "Oh my God!" Basically, at the time, they were saying, the U.S. experts were saying, Ukraine can get any plane it wants in exchange for that thing. Like that U.S. intelligence would love it. So it's funny you say it, because that was at least reputed to be, from the photos. Now, we haven't heard anything about it since, but that kind of makes sense. If it was a huge intelligence find, we wouldn't hear about it. But yeah, that's my only concern about the Examiner. I would make sure it's supported by somebody else, but that's interesting. Then having said that, we're not hearing about it, which makes me think maybe it's not too big of a problem yet. Sorry, somebody else was weighing in on the same thing. Tony Wilson, I don't think that long-term GPS jamming is feasible. It's something you do momentarily. I don't know. Okay, Tony, I don't know. But that's interesting. I'm just pulling up a couple of observations. Saw a video on TikTok showing Russian soldiers with the javelins we sent. I doubt it. Well, first, here's your first problem. You saw a video on TikTok. No offense, but TikTok to me is like blogging that I had done years ago and stuff like that. Thank you, whoever that is, Ask, or whatever your name is there on TikTok. TikTok is the way blogging used to be, and I blogged too, and I had one of the big political blogs in the U.S. back in the 2000s, the first 10 years of the 2000s, and but I always tell people, you've got to sort of be careful who you're listening to, because in my case, I'd say, okay, look at my resume, look at my background. And you look at my resume and you might say, okay, he's a lawyer. He went to Georgetown for law school. Like in America, that's a good school. He worked at the United Nations. He worked on, basically you look at my jobs and you go, okay, there's some credibility here of him being real. I wrote for The Economist for a while. So, right. And then you look at the history of what I'm writing. And I'm not just saying me, I'm saying in general, when you're on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, you look at the history of what the person's putting out there and say, have they pretty much been right? Have they been saying a bunch of stuff that's just crazy? There's just crazy stuff and they're always wrong. If they're always getting it wrong, don't believe them. If they're always saying stuff that's their scoop, but nobody else gets it, like that weirdo on TikTok, on YouTube, I'm not even going to mention his name on YouTube, but he's, always doing these crazy, he's the one who did the interview the other day and could only in Mariupol, the town that the Russians have blown up for 2 months now. Everybody hates the freaking Russians. I mean, they've killed everybody in this town. They've destroyed the entire town. This idiot American could only find residents of Mariupol who loved Russia and blamed America for the war. And you're like, sure. This is the town where the Russians blew up the theater that had the word children written on it. This is the town where the Russians blew up the maternity hospital, the hospital for women giving birth. Sure, the only people who could find were people who thought, Russia, yeah. You've got to be careful who you follow. So the fact that somebody on TikTok is making claims about Russia getting the equipment, I would tell you right now, I'd wager money that person is doing it on behalf of, just a guess. I don't know who it is. I'm not going to say they are, but I'd be willing to take that bet that they're doing that video on behalf of Russia. I don't think it's true at all. And you can, ask all the Russian planes that have been shot down and all the, not just planes, that would be Stingers, but all the Russian tanks and armed vehicles that have blown up. And we know they've blown up badly. So, I don't believe it. Interesting. Okay. Well, now again, I'd like to know the source. Sorry, we're still looking into this issue of the jamming. The brightest, I'll go a little longer. It's 2:15. We'll go till 20 after. Because then I've got to cook Greek, remember, for tomorrow. Brightest one says Russia is jamming commercial planes, satellite navigation. French safety official says. Okay, I'd be curious what the source was for that brightest. What newspaper was that in, for example? Oh, thank you. Oh, I saw that. That was like a little Pikachu or something. Thank you. That was cute. I'd just like to know what paper that was in, what source. Always pull up the source. So maybe. Malcolm, from what? Oh, thank you, baby. That was cute. Baby Schultz, maybe. It's funny. When you put it up, thank you for the flower. When you put it up, it often doesn't show your guys' full names. So I can only get, like, Alicia, I can see yours. Sometimes I can only see part of the name. So that's why I say baby, because I couldn't see what the rest was. Citrus, or so, Criticus, citrus, I'm calling you an orange. Is the American retired naval intelligence person doing well, Malcolm? Last I heard, I haven't checked on Malcolm in the last day, but I've usually been following him just on Twitter, and he's been doing interviews on TV as well, Malcolm Nance. But, seemingly fine. Seemingly. You can follow him on Twitter. His screen name on Twitter is literally Malcolm Nance. Hi, Ireland. How are you? On TikTok. Malcolm Nance. One word. Malcolm, Nance. You can follow him on TikTok, on Twitter at least, and get all sorts of updates on just what he's doing, what he's hearing. So, although my guess is a lot of what Malcolm is doing is trying to help people on the ground. So he's probably not doing a lot of updates about it, frankly, because most of the stuff he's doing, Malcolm, being a former military guy and former intelligence guy, knows that you really shouldn't be telling people what you're doing. Oh, is he currently in Kyiv? Okay, somebody says he's currently in Kyiv. Maybe that would make sense. But he generally wouldn't tell people what he's doing because he's hopefully doing lots of sneaky stuff on behalf of Ukraine. So my guess is he'll give you updates like that cruise missile flying over the other day when they were in the town square, which was very impressive too, because he was like, cruise missile, stop, and he knew exactly what it was, and he was right. And he said there should be another one, and he was right, which was very impressive. But yeah, I've known Malcolm for several years. Even though Malcolm likes to do TV and he does a lot of TV, I don't think he's going to be telling you exactly what he's doing because he's very smart that way. Malcolm Nance is who I'm assuming we're talking about, D. Yes, pretty sure. I did see that. Yes. Sorry. Tony Wilson saying the French are claiming that the Wagner group, which is this Russian mercenary murderer group that's tied to one of the big Russian oligarchs who's a best friend to Putin, killed people in Mali, and they're trying to frame the French armed forces for it. I did see that. Yeah. A little off topic for this, kind of connected. I've been to Mali, a wonderful country, Mali. Very sad to see that happening. Very poor country, not fascinating. If you can go, if it's safe, lovely country. I speak French, which helped. Though once you get to the second largest city already, French works 50-50, depending who you talk to. Then they speak Bambara, I think, was the language, the local language after French. Lovely country. Just loved it. Hotter than hell. It was like 43, 44 degrees. You can't drink the water. So I had to get like water bottles. You buy a water bottle at the store, and then you'd have to have those iodine pills. The most disgusting thing I'd ever, iodine water. Oh my God. I can't believe people. And of course, it being Mali, there's no air. You don't have any like air. I was at a very nice hotel, very nice resort, cheap, pretty place, but there's no refrigerator in your room. So your water is, 40 degrees. 40, meaning like 90 degrees Fahrenheit or something. And you're just like drinking warm iodine water. But again, that's a first world problem. You think of people who have to do this every day, Loved Mali. Oh my God. Such a great company. I saw that. So Raggedy Android is asking about a big story. Hello, possibly Penelope. Speaking of France, Raggedy Android is asking about any news on the French company selling arms to Russia. There was a story that broke yesterday. Iodine, for whatever reason, kills organisms in the water that could get you super sick. And it kills the organisms. That's it. But it tastes horrible in the water. And you get these little pills, and it tells you like a liter of water, use 1 pill or 2 pills or 3 pills, whatever it was, let it dissolve 15 minutes. And it works, but hello, Sweden. It works, but it's disgusting. But, it's better than getting dysentery. You could really be super. I have a friend who got that. He was sick for a year once from just, horrific. He got it in Latin America and he ate something he knew he shouldn't have eaten, and horrible, sick for a year. So yeah, big story broke yesterday on French and German companies, both, I believe, selling arms to Russia in violation of the embargo, not for radiation, no, for the embargo that went into place, the arms embargo back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, right? When it annexed that southern Ukrainian territory and claimed it was part of Russia, which no one recognizes. So there were arms sanctions of the European Union, I guess, not being able to sell arms to Russia or whatever, and a number of French companies and German companies apparently have violated it, supposedly. I don't know what the story is on that. Oops, sorry. I see there's another question here. I will find you. Let me highlight it while we're saying this. But I haven't seen more on it, but I know that's the, sorry, you want to be covered again? Oh my God, my dog wants to be covered again. But that was a big story that came out yesterday, and not good. And it also could hurt Macron the French election. And Jethro, I'll get you next. It could hurt Macron the French elections because there's concern about, Le Pen, who's close to Putin, anti-Ukraine, pro-Putin, basically, supported Putin moving into Crimea, could use it as a last minute argument to say, well, you say I'm close to Putin, your friends were all sending weapons to, Putin as well, so you're just like me. And then all of a sudden people go, Now, the other thing I would say, though, is it might be a little too late. This close to the election, it could hurt Macron. It probably hurt him a little bit. It may be too close. It probably would have been more beneficial to have had it happen 4 or 5 days ago. I also have to say, I'm awfully suspicious that this information is coming out 2 days before the French elections. Not saying it's not true, but I'm saying, to me, it looks like it's a Russian operation. Why else? 2 days before the election? Who knew? Who knew that France was selling weapons to Russia? The French companies and Russia. You think the French companies wanted it known? No. Do you think Russia wanted it known? Oh, yeah. So that Macron could be hurt, and maybe Le Pen, who loves Putin and thinks Ukraine should be part of Russia. Yeah. So that's just my take. Who knows? But could still be true, though. Jethro asks, why is Germany being criticized by the media for not giving enough to Ukraine? Can't they just send money? The thing is, money isn't going to get them the artillery. They need artillery, for example. They needed the howitzers to shoot the artillery, and they need the ammunition. So they needed the drones. They can't just buy more drones. Because also, who are they going to buy the drones from? The West. So the West would still, if we didn't give them MiGs, we wouldn't give them the MiGs if they paid. So they still don't have the fighter jets. They needed the artillery shells. If we weren't going to give them the artillery, we're not going to. In other words, the reason we weren't giving them some of these weapons wasn't because Ukraine isn't paying enough money. It's because we thought if we gave them the weapons, it would be too much of a front to Russia, and maybe Russia would attack us, and blah, blah, blah. Right? The MiGs, for example. Right? Well, that's just it. Somebody's asking why the MiGs. The MiGs, because our government, Biden, and I'm guessing probably Scholz in Germany too, thought, if we give the MiG fighter jets, then Russia's going to get angry, and then it could be all of a sudden he'll drag NATO into the war. And it was this, we're afraid of Russia thing. So that's why you can't give the money, because we still wouldn't let them buy the weapons. Germany's been getting criticized. Okay, a story came up the other day, 2-3 days ago, from Bild, I think it was Bild, which is one of the big German news outlets, that on February 27th, I believe, right when the war started, the German defense industry got together, or the German defense agencies got together, and prepared a 48-page list of all the weapon items that Germany could offer Ukraine. And the idea was for the chancellor to go through the list, but also the chancellor to show it to Ukraine and say, what would you like? And let's negotiate. Well, Chancellor Scholz, who's the chancellor is the head of the president of Germany, so to speak, but it's not the president. They call it chancellor. So the chancellor of Germany got the list on February 27th when the war started. It's now been 2 months since the war started, and he finally released the list like 2 days ago. He finally said, I've got this list if you want to look at it, Ukraine, 2 months later. And half the items, the really good stuff, were gone from the list. So the list was only half as long. That's why Germany's getting criticized. There is clearly I say push me, pull you in English, but there's clearly a tug of war going on in his own party of let's help Ukraine more. Oh, that's scary. Let's hope. He even said the other day, he said 2 days ago, Schultz did, that, oh, we have to be careful about World War III and nuclear war. Nobody knows if we send them planes, is that going to cause nuclear war? He was using the same bullshit, I'm trying not to swear, talking points. They're Putin talking points. They're talking points. Oh, we're afraid of Putin. That's why, because he's clearly doing this. Actually, that's the same day. This was great too. The same day the story came out that Schultz was giving some kind of the show. Oh, I'm sorry. The show. Yeah. Yes. I'll pull this. Mia, I'm saving your question. I'll get to it as well. Don't worry, guys. If you have any of the questions in there, I've got them lined up. So don't worry. I'm not going to go till I'm done. In any case, you're getting this push me pull you. So at the same time that Schultz says it could cause World War III, we don't know what weapons Putin will think is too much. We've got to be careful. His government approves a deal to, and I'm trying to think, was this Slovakia? I think this was Slovakia. I think approves a deal that if Slovakia gives its tanks to Ukraine, Germany will give an equal number of new tanks to Slovakia, so that they can basically facilitating the deal to send tanks when previously everyone was afraid to send tanks. So like the same day they're saying, we better be careful. If we give too many weapons, we're going to start World War III. Germany then facilitates giving tanks, which is exactly what Ukraine needs and wants. Which, why isn't that causing World War III? That was a very long way of saying, I think because you've got some conflict going on in Germany and it keeps going public and it's affecting what weapons that they're actually getting. Let me pull up the starred questions I threw up of this. Tree Robitaille, we'll still get to the pencils on the iPad afterwards. So Dan, okay, yep, we talked about Dan's, good. Oh, Dan was following up from the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, global navigation satellite system outage leading to navigation surveillance degradation. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Okay. I don't know. That's very interesting. Then, yeah, maybe the Russians are playing games. Well, that's pretty scary with navigation, though. Jesus. Scott McNabb. Do the UN peacekeepers have a current better chance over NATO to step in? I don't think so. Finish your sentence. And what is the difference in the Russian response if UN instead of NATO? I am pretty sure we had discussed this a few weeks ago and somebody had looked into it, that in order to send in peacekeepers, it has to be cleared by the UN Security Council, is what I was told. So if it's got to be cleared by the UN Security Council, then Russia would veto it and you'd have no peacekeepers. I think if it didn't have to go to the Security Council, it would have been smart before the war started. I'm pretty sure that it does have to go through them. If it didn't have to go through the Security Council, I would say send them now, send them to Eastern Ukraine. I would even use UN troops to send in supplies and to get the Ukrainian grain that is now stuck in Ukraine and isn't going to the rest of the world. And they're worried about a food shortage in the rest of the world now because Russia has done an embargo, a blockade of the Ukrainian ports. So the Ukraine can't get rid of the grain that it sells to the entire world. So I would use NATO ships or UN ships, United Nations ships, to go through the blockade and say, we're not doing anything. We're just delivering goods. And if you want to shoot us, welcome to World War III. We use World War III against them. That's what I would say. I would say, you want to shoot my ship? Go ahead, Vlad. But all I'm doing is coming in and out delivering grain. You want to attack the U.S. Navy? Okay. We're going to blow you out of the water if you do, but it's your call. But we should have done it initially, and we frankly should have set up NATO peacekeepers in Ukraine originally as well from the beginning. Putin was saying he wasn't going to go to war. We should have said, okay, great. Since you're not going to invade Ukraine, we're going to put peacekeepers all over Ukraine because obviously there's no threat. There's no danger of engaging with you because, Vlad, you just told us you're not going to invade Ukraine. So we're going to put 10,000, 20,000 NATO peacekeepers around the country. If you do invade and you kill the NATO troops, you've just declared war on NATO. But again, it's not going to happen because you told us, Vlad, that you're not going to invade. That's how you, excuse me, my nose keeps itching. That's how you, I'm a much more in-your-face kind of politics guy. I am careful when it needs to be careful, but that kind of ticks me off. So Mia, people were asking about the first aid kits. Oh, they're done. Oh God, they got done when I put that video up 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. The last ones, what I was doing with the first aid kits, like I said, 82 kits got sent. Each one is between $105 and $110 because it's Amazon. They play with the price. And then there was another, I told you guys in the video, I had to see how much money it was for the bandages and that kind of stuff. It could have been $1,000, $2,000 for the bandages that were these really high-end bandages they wanted. But what I was doing is, as the money was coming in each day, I was buying it on Amazon. So I'd buy $3,000, $1,000, $4,000. And I could even, I mean, I did a video showing you guys all the purchases. I could do it again if you want, but they all arrived. Oh God, I'd say a week and a half ago was the final delivery because I was buying them each day, and then they would only take like, it's Amazon. We got Amazon Prime because I own Amazon Prime. It only took like 2 days to get there. So for sure, they're already in with the Ukrainian American group in New York, and it's only a question of when they send them. But they send huge amounts. They were saying like 70. What do you call it? Not plaques? What do you call those big things of wood that have like 50 boxes on them or whatever? That I had read something like 70 of these a week they send. They're collecting money and resources from all over the Ukrainian American community. So yeah, oh yeah, they've been sent from me via Amazon weeks ago, and I would assume that they're already on their way to Ukraine by now. I would hope, but no matter what, they're with the shippers who are shipping them. So yeah, oh yeah, that was done. 82, like I said, 82 of the aid kits were sent, and then a bunch of. I even did do a video telling you how many bandages and stuff, but for sure. Anything else here, guys? Otherwise, we're just going to sit and chat. Did I miss any other of the questions on Tiki Taki? No, that's okay. Good for people to ask. You know what happened to? Maybe I'll do another update, Munmia, because it also makes me wonder when I do a video on it. It doesn't mean everybody saw the video. Pallets. That's the word. Pallets was the word. Thank you, John. Thank you. Pallets was the word. Yeah, because I remember reading the number of them and I went, oh my God. But again, it's great because they're doing these shipments every week. So because initially I was thinking like, can I buy this stuff and I can go to FedEx and ship it? But I was like, oh my, or DHL, I guess you use. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go nuts if I've got to go to DHL with like, if my living room is filled with boxes of medical kits. I was like, there's no way. And then I saw them and I went, oh my God. Yeah. And they were recommended by a Ukrainian, anyway, a big Ukrainian person who I know, who I asked her, she's quite credible, knows all the big people. And she said, oh God, yes, they're highly recommended. They're a great group. And I was like, thank you. And that way they're paying for the shipping. So you didn't have to pay for the shipping. So I got to buy, God. Oh God, well, forget the shipping. The shipping would have been, had we shipped, I actually Googled it. Had we shipped like $5,000 worth of stuff, the shipping would have been $1,500. Like what the shipping was like 20% because you're shipping it to Poland and it's going 2 or 3 days. It's not going 3 weeks because they can't get it in 3 weeks. So yeah, we were able to buy, I'd say 15 to 20% more stuff because they're shipping. And anyway, I'll do another video up because I still want to do more videos promoting the fundraiser we're doing to get the cars and the food for the cars to ship the food to Kharkiv. That's the fundraiser going on currently. Link in my bio, Beacons, click it. You'll see the top 2 things for how to donate. Be Kind can put it up again with you guys on TikTok, on YouTube. But I want to do that, and I might as well do a recap of the money you've donated and what we gave it to already, because it just it's up. But that's the one thing I don't like about TikTok is things kind of float away. Like it's a video from a week ago, and you go like, even I can't find it because I'm doing, I don't know, 5 to 10 videos a day maybe, and a week ago I'm like, I can't even find it. They ought to have a better search function on TikTok actually, like for looking for old videos. Anyway, let's get done with unless there's anything else here, let's get done with the no more political questions. Woo woo, excellent. All right, so tell me what the deal is with the iPad pen. Why would I want a pen for the iPad? Now, I will say, I remember when we first started out with all these cool Apple products in the 1990s, even before the maybe late 1990s, I had a phone, early 2000s, maybe. I had a phone that was very cool because it was a square phone. And it was the first phones you could type on, and it slid and it had its own keyboard. And it was pretty freaking cool though, because I could, on the airplane, I would write out blog posts. It was a small keyboard, but it would work. And I'm trying to think, I think I even used the pen to type the keyboard and on the screen, but it actually worked. Oh, like typing words on the screen with it. But I'm trying to figure out, like, for an iPad, what do you use the iPencil for? If folks, or I'll put on my glasses. Thank you for the crown. I'll look to see if anybody's weighing in on TikTok too. Why would you use an iPencil with an iPad? What's the advantage there? And also, I'm trying to think for my mom, but also myself eventually. I mean, like I said, we got her a really nice $320 iPad that's new. It's the simple iPads. Interesting. It's a simple iPad, which I like. Drawing, sure. I don't draw though, but yeah. And I'm such a Oh, that's true. I will take a picture of it. Yes, I'll do that, Stacy. I will take a picture of the food tomorrow. Now, the only problem is we ordered a lot. For the first year, we ordered a lot because it was expensive and kind of just too hard this year to do the whole lamb. We usually do a whole lamb in my sister's backyard, but we ordered a lot, and then I'm making some, of my nephew's making some Greek food. So we'll have a mix, but I always feel like we've got to tell people honestly, we didn't make all of it. It's like when I have food for a dinner party, I always feel guilty if I bought the food. Oh, you already made it. Get out of here. You already made it, Susan? Oh, nice. Oh, that's funny. It's a simple recipe. I mean, it's a very simple recipe. It typically, that stuff is often good the day you make it. It's often not good the next day, partially because we were saying a no-knead bread recipe I put up last night, because it has to sit. I mean, it sits in like if you let it go the next day, you might want to put it in a plastic bag because there's no preservatives in it. And once it's in the bag, the crust gets soft. And if you cut it up and put it in a toaster oven, it'll crisp up. But that's good. Now, I will say it probably is. Try it yourself, and you're going to find, I usually try to wait 2 days before turning it into bread. So I'll make the dough 2 hours, let it sit in the fridge, maybe 2 days, because the longer the yeast ferments, the better the flavor. But you want it to go slowly in the fridge, because if it were on the counter, it would over ferment in a couple hours, like 5 hours, and you're gone or whatever, right? The yeast would die. Putting it in the fridge, it's a very slow fermentation. So the yeast goes slowly, and that slower flavor also gives you a much nicer flavor. A lot of people don't realize this who don't make bread. The yeast is what gives it the flavor, and like I said, a slow growing yeast over time, like it does in the fridge, gives a much more nuanced flavor. So often go 48 hours before you make the first batch, and then the second batch, maybe even go another 2 days, and you're going to find that second batch tastes even better, but it may not rise as much. Actually, South Crothamel, I'm curious, did yours rise? Because the one we make with Mom's, it always spreads out a lot, so never as good. Hey, Puzzle Noodle, I see you there on TikTok. I do make sourdough too. Yep, I've got sourdough recipes. I make a sourdough, not really a no need, but I do make sourdough at home. Didn't get the pencil. Sorry, I'm reading again, highlighting. Interesting. Giamista are good. Yep, Mom makes those. My favorite Greek food, I do love moussaka, a pasticcio moussaka. A really good moussaka is to die for. A good spanakopita is to die for, but very specific. You've got to get kind of good feta and all of that. But yeah, exactly. The bread gets much more flavor in the fridge. But sometimes I think, oh, that's funny. I could have circled Moldova instead of, that's funny. Yeah, my suspicion is Mom doesn't need it, but if I were to get it, I'd probably find a use. Oh God, I'd love that. Ukrainian Army shirt. Oh my God, I don't have a PO box. Why don't you email? You can email me at my last name @gmail, and we'll talk. I don't like giving out addresses, but we'll talk. I don't have a PO box because it's just too much. I had one years ago. It was too much trouble. I would get junk mail. My PO box was all junk mail. It was the most obnoxious thing. And it was all because the Postal Service said, well, it was all junk mail from like a hair salon that had the PO box before me. And I'm like, every day I'm getting this much junk mail. And the Postal Service is going, you need to come by every day to empty your box. I'm like, why? Because it's all junk mail for the previous owner and you know it, but you put it in there anyway. Yeah. So DC, I have to have a little chat with them because like, I don't know why they do. I guess it's the federal government's rule, but you don't give me the mail for somebody before and it'd be junk mail for a PO box. So anyway, she's good. She's under my jacket. Oh yeah. She's Sasha is much relieved from yesterday's storms. Is feta hard to make? God only knows. I have no idea. No idea. No idea how to make feta. I've never made cheese actually, really. So I wouldn't even know. Weather. Oh God, the weather. Oh my God, the weather today. I've got to actually take my dog out because it's 78 degrees out there. I'm going to put on shorts, go down to my t-shirt and take the dogs for a walk in the park because it's absolutely glorious today. Even though I've got to cook, I'll come back and cook. But yeah, no, it's stunning today. Actually, and again, with that in mind, I may go for another minute or two and then we'll go. I don't think you guys will get to meet Mom. I'm being careful with Mom just because, over the years working in politics, it's always felt a little weird. It always felt a little weird kind of getting my family involved because I wouldn't want people to harass my family because American politics anywhere can be very nasty. So even though you guys aren't politics, I'm not sure I want Mom out there. Hello, Philippines. Nice to see you guys. We're just getting, Mom's dog did get a haircut. You notice, yes, Kukla was a little too a little too much further. She was getting her nails caught on her fur, and I was like, okay, we got to get her cut. So she looks good now. The Duolingo, I haven't continued with my Duolingo with learning. She did. Mom's pop got a haircut. My Duolingo to learn Ukrainian, I think I have to go back to the beginning because I had started it telling it I knew some Ukrainian because I knew Russian, and I actually have been doing really well. But I fear that like I'm a little too smart for Duolingo, so I'm getting the sentences right because I'm guessing from knowing some Russian, and it's obvious. Like a word that I don't know, it's kind of obvious because I recognize the other words, right? But I'm not really learning, so I think I may go back to even though I'm a little afraid they're going to teach me the alphabet, and I do not want them to teach me the alphabet because I already know it. But I'm a little afraid I may have to go back to the beginning again and start with Ukrainian, so they start teaching me some of the words because some of the basic words I don't even know because I know Russian. And Ukrainian's always a little, even like thank you. Although I'm trying to remember, no, spasiba, yeah, in Russian. I don't think they can say spasiba, but they've got a word. Vlad he sent an email out to everybody who had donated to him directly, updating them on this newest effort, fundraising. And he put the word like yauk or something for thank you. And I was like, what? Ukrainian. There was a joke. What was the Steve Martin joke? Was it about French or whatever? Like, I hate the French. They have a different word for everything. And it's kind of that way, like this damn Ukrainians, they got a word for everything that you got to learn. But very funny. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I will say goodbye. Jakyu. Sorry, I just saw, yeah, Yulia posting it. Jakyo. I'm going to say Jakyo from speaking Russian, but is that Jaku? That's how you say it? Jaku? Jakuyu? Somebody tell me what's the pronunciation. I'm seeing differing pronunciations here. I'm still looking. Actually, TikTok seems to be tell me Jakyu. Okay, because I would say you for that ending letter, so maybe it's Jakyu. It almost sounds like thank you. Jakyu, thank you. That's funny. Jako. Really? All right, I'm seeing different things here, guys. Jakuyu. Okay. With a name like Yulia, I'm going to trust you. Jakuyu. Okay, that's close. I was thinking Jakyu, but Jakuyu. So that last letter you guys say uyu maybe on, or maybe it's with a K. See, this is what's hard with Russian or Cyrillic. I found the language is like learning the little pronunciations. Yeah, Jakuyu. I'm saying it like French, like Jakuyu. Oh my God. It was so much easier learning Russian. I hated learning Russian, but it was so much easier learning Russian. Oh my God. Jakuyu in Polish. Oh, that's interesting. So that is similar. I mean, I'm guessing the pronunciation in Polish, but that's interesting. Okay. All right, guys. Yes, I'm going to say goodbye. Danke. I know Danke. That I know. Even though I don't speak German, I know Danke. I knew just enough German to get a photo of Eastern Europe of East German soldiers when I was in Berlin, when it was still divided. And I walked up to these guys, and I mean, they knew we were American. We looked totally American. But I walked up to the guy, and I was like, "Ich kann machen ein Foto?" And the guy was like, yeah. I was like, which I knew wasn't totally correct, but for totally winging it, not speaking German, I thought that was pretty good. But kind of wild. That was a whole other era, obviously, back then, Eastern Europe. All right, guys. Yes, I'm saying goodbye. I'm going to wait till the TikTok folks start saying goodbye so they know it's here. Oh, that's right. So Monday, at this point, let's continue the same time for Monday. Monday we will do, because tomorrow is Greek Easter, so we're taking the day off. Unless I pop in but I may just pop in by chance somewhere, maybe just on TikTok or something. And, if it's all Russians, if the mods out there, don't worry about it. I'll deal with it if it's Russians. I don't care. But let's do Monday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, which is what we've been doing this week. And I think it's a good compromise. It's not quite the same number of people as before. It's a little lower, but it still, I think, works pretty well. It works for me pretty well, too. So it doesn't kind of interfere, because I'd rather be done at 6:30. Like last night, I finished at 6:30, and then I was able to sit with Mom and we were able to eat. It's kind of, if I finish at 7:30, then it eats into my mom time. So I'd rather do 6:30. So Monday will be 3 p.m. Pacific, correct? 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. And what did I say? I had that figured out before. UTC is going to be 15, 17, 22 UTC. Which we never use here in the States, but some of you Europeans said UTC was easier to figure it out. I was like, okay. I was saying Paris time because to me it made more sense. Like, oh, if you know, but frankly, you can just do it with Chicago or New York. 5 p.m. Chicago time. So just use Google to figure out what the time is in Chicago and you'll have it. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off on TikTok and then YouTube, and then I'm going to walk the dogs, and then we're going to make Greek food. All right, bye TikTok. Oops, not a little. All right, YouTube, I'm signing off. Yeah, it is archived for later anyway. Exactly. All right, guys, I'll see you on Monday, all right? And like I said, unless I slip in, but I probably wouldn't slip in just on here. Well, never know. Maybe I turn both on at the same time anyway. Who knows? Or I'll just do a TikTok because I never have enough chance to really focus on the TikTok. And it'd be nice. It's way easier to, now the TikTok's off, we can tell you the truth on YouTube. It's far easier to read the comments on YouTube than TikTok, because YouTube, it's a big computer screen and big comments. Mind you, big font. And TikTok is as if it was programmed by a child. The font is small, the writing's small, and you're going, eh. You know, it's like you have to be 13 years old to read TikTok. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Thank you. Johnny Depp's trial. That's funny. All right. Oh, thank you. Yakuyu. Yakuyu. Bye, guys.